Susan, you can please grace us with a word of prayer before the start of the meeting.
Okay, let us believe and pray. I hope I am audible enough. Let's pray.
You are Susan.
Okay. Heavenly Father, we come before your presence this afternoon. Lord, we thank you because of each and every member gathered here. Thank you because of today's webinar. Thank you for this opportunity. Lord, we are praying that you guide us through. Grant us a fruitful discussion. Even I commit the panelists and the able hands. Grant them your wisdom, your knowledge in delivering this webinar. Thank you, Lord. Thank you for the gift of life. Thank you for the gift of one another. We bless your name. In Jesus' name we pray and believe. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Susan. Good afternoon to you all. I take this opportunity on behalf of the Office of the Director, Institute of Nuclear Science and Technology, who are the organizers of this seminar, to welcome you all to this afternoon seminar webinar titled Knowledge in Peaceful Applications of Nuclear Science and Technology, a foundation for multidiscipline research capacity building. Here, take note that the director is on leave, but unwell. So perhaps that's why he has not joined us for this particular meeting. And I think we wish him a quick recovery. However, nuclear science applications is a key to sustainable economic development in general, and is widely used in medicine, manufacturing and industry, agriculture and food security, development of water resources, development of energy resources, and in research institutions for various multidisciplinary studies. The Institute of Nuclear Science and Technology at the University of Nairobi is the focal point for promotion of nuclear science in Kenya. The institute having been established in the early 80s. To date, we have several hundreds of students who have utilized the institute facilities for their graduate program studies. We have facilities, for example, for use that are appropriate for multidisciplinary research and for provision of professional services in the mining sector, for example, for mineral explorations, the build and construction industry, specifically on assessing structural integrity, the manufacturing sector for assessing the quality of industrial products, and in medicine for treatment and diagnosis of diseases in the environmental pollution studies, and also in the environmental pollution studies for assessing the air quality. Today's seminar or webinar draws panelists who are alumni of the institutes. And I think today's seminar is the second in commemorating the 50 years since the establishment of the university. Hello? And the alumni, as I said, are at different stages of their PhD programs in universities in Europe and Asia, except for one who is now a postdoc researcher at the Stockholm University. All these panelists will be sharing with us their experiences. And
Mike, you have muted. Mike, you have muted. Michael, you have muted.
Okay, sorry. They'll be sharing with us their experiences and advice us on their programs. But John will be introducing them shortly. So this webinar is part of the University of Nairobi at 50 year celebrations and brings together nuclear scientists, scholars, and other researchers from other institutions, in addition to other radiation source users in industry. Specifically, the will address the questions as to what are their experiences in multidisciplinary research, and how can we draw from those experiences, and what are your advice to the ongoing students on the opportunities in researches that are related to multidisciplinary. So, and what are the areas you would recommend for inclusion in our curricula when we are doing the revisions so that we can strengthen our programs? So for this afternoon webinar, John will be the moderator and he will be assisted by Wilson. So I hope the presenters will provoke conversations on the relevance of multidisciplinary research in our society. Before we start off, let me first introduce the hosts. Maybe invite the hosts, John and Wilson, to make brief opening remarks specifically on their roles, especially on housekeeping rules for this particular webinar. I'm sure we had talked this earlier before the start, but just to emphasize that particular, especially house rules and roles, please welcome the moderator, John first, and then followed by Wilson. Please, John, welcome.
Thank you, our acting director, Mangala. I think a few things. So we have 4 presenters. They'll make their presentations first, and then after that, we can have a question and answer session. While they're making their presentations, you can always, you can always chat. There is a chat icon in this team, so you can always send your chats there. So you can ask any questions, make your comments while they are making the talks. Afterwards, when they finish with their presentations, then you can also verbalize your questions if need be. Something else is that if you're not speaking, we kindly urge you to just mute. So you just unmute when you need to speak, and then you mute. But also Wilson will be assisting us in muting those who may have challenges. All right. So I don't know, Wilson, you want to say something or?
Not really. I don't want to take time set aside for this wonderful webinar. Probably, maybe if we can start with a group photo. I think by now most people have joined in. Probably, if you can turn on your camera, I'll take a photo, and then I'll hand you over back to John.
Yeah, so turn on your cameras and give us your best smile for a few minutes.
Okay.
You know, we have to do our photo session, and unlike the normal one we are used to, this one you have to probably capture and save. So please, all of you, turn on your cameras.
I think there are still some few people who have not turned on their camera. Yeah, John, check. Somebody's trying to join in. Yes, then you can give me. Okay, people are still turning on their camera. I can see Frederick. I can see Celine. Yeah, so you can give me a good smile. John, I hope you're also trying to take the pictures. I can see. Dan is here. Okay.
Are you through?
Yeah, I think from my end, I don't know, John. From your end. Okay, I think John is still.
Just hold on a minute. Okay.
Okay, so I think that's okay.
John,
John, you can proceed from.
Okay, sorry. Sorry, John, before you proceed, let me, a small remark here, sorry, which I had left out. At 3:30, I'll be out for another meeting with the Senate. And so I'll simply leave after 3:30. And I think at this stage, I will welcome everybody on board and pay keen attention to the presentations. So John, back to you. Now you can start off.
Okay, thank you. Once again, thank you all of you for finding time to join us, and thank you our panelists for preparing for this session. So today we have 4 panelists. They are going to make presentations. We have Dr. Monique Gaita, we have Rafael Chesori, we have Leonard Kirago, and we also have Ansalim Maura. So our first presenter will be Dr. Monique Gaita, and he'll be making presentations all the way from Sweden. He's working at Stockholm University. Dr. Monique holds a BSc in. He actually started off as a teacher in high school, teaching maths and physics. Actually, maths and chemistry. He holds 2 masters, so he's a very learned man. He has done masters in nuclear science, also done masters in environmental science. So nuclear science he did from the University of Nairobi. Environmental science from Gothenburg, that's also in Sweden. So yeah, Gaita, welcome. Let me not say too much. You will tell us the rest. You have about 10 or so minutes, 10 to 15 minutes to just make your talk. Thank you. Welcome.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is, as indicated there, Monique Gaita. And I did actually my nuclear science. I did 2 parts. The first part started in 2009, before not having enough money to do it. And then later on, I came back in 2010 to do the master's with Ngeno et al. And I understand this in this webinar, it's more like to give the experience, like how has nuclear science kind of like charted the way for me to be where I am today. And the best part about the nuclear science is more like most of the students, when I was joining there, my background was in, as you said, mathematics and chemistry, high school teacher. So it's kind of like was intimidating when you mentioned like you're going for nuclear science, but it so happened like your background is in mathematics and chemistry. So one way I was looking at it was more like, then I would be forced to head towards like radiation chemistry. But well, that is one of the options. So in essence, I would say like the Masters of Nuclear Science, the way it is designed, the first year kind of like focuses on building, giving up a foundation of what you are supposed to do after that. And one way that I kind of like did miss at from the INST was that we need during the first year to kind of like start thinking of where should we do our project. And one way is that it can either be local or international, because the Nuclear Science Institute has a very good network, international network, when you think about it, because it's like now I did my master's in nuclear science, but today I am a researcher in atmospheric science. And I'm actually focusing on something known as organic chemistry, more like organic carbon. So my experience is that with the foundation in nuclear science, it shuts the way forward that you can head into any direction you want to. So my PhD was actually in atmospheric chemistry, whereby I did use XRF technique to do the analysis of the inorganic component of filtered air particulate pollutant. So that way is how I had to connect the nuclear science, the master's in nuclear science, with my PhD work. Then later on, after my PhD, I did research in water analysis. And water analysis is that we did focus on nanoparticles coming from the consumer product. So in Kenya today, we have a lot of products that do contain nanoparticles. So then the question the students at nuclear science should be asking themselves is that these consumer products, they get tested at KEBS, but do we think about the new technologies, the nanotechnology that is being introduced into these products, and how can we use nuclear science to actually monitor their effect on human beings or their effect on the environment? So that's 1 year that I did research in a water in marine department, where they had scanning electron microscope and ICP-MS. And the purpose was to monitor the fate of nanoparticles that comes from the consumer products. So here we are talking about the toothpaste. They do add the nanoparticles to seal in the tooth decay. We are talking about the beauty products that do contain nanoparticles. So in the consumer market in Kenya, how can nuclear science kind of contribute to making sure that there is safety to the human beings and there's safety to the environment from these nanoparticles being introduced by the new technology in the consumer product? So that's one of the ways that actually the foundation from nuclear science masters did provide for me. So I was able to walk into the lab and say, oh yeah, this is a scanning electron microscope. It's coupled with EDX technique. And then I could use that information for the analysis of that. Currently, I am doing my postdoc analyzing brown carbon that is contributing to the climate change, or I will refer to as the optical properties of the environment, radiative forcing, and which is connected to climate change. So one way that nuclear science kind of like is providing a foundation in this research is in collaboration with Leonard, I think he'll mention about it, is that we have to check about the carbon-13 isotope and the carbon-14 isotope. And one of the actually the subject that is taught in the nuclear science technique is radiochemistry. I don't know whether it is still being offered or not. So that one of the topic, that one of the subject that was able to provide a foundation for this part that we are doing about the carbon isotopic technique, in order for us to separate between biomass burning and fuel emission and fuel-based pollution from vehicular emissions. So my experience is that nuclear science does offer a foundation, and this foundation can be used to chart your way to any other part of research that you want to. And the last one I was thinking about was recycling in Kenya. We have the Dadora dam site. So these handheld XRF gadgets, can they be used in a way that is useful in recycling part? Because solid waste is a big issue in Kenya. So how can nuclear science techniques be useful in that field? And one way we can talk about is the use of handheld XRF gadgets. So we should be able to map, we should be able to use those gadgets for mapping how this solid waste a kind of like affect the environment within the areas that we have these big issues of solid waste management. So I think in a way, I've been able to show that all these paths that I've been to from when I did my master's in nuclear science, atmospheric science master's and PhD in atmospheric, my postdoc work in this field of organic carbon can all be drawn back to the ethics of research that I did learn from nuclear science. So that's all that I can say, unless you have any other question.
Thank you, Dr. Mwaniki, for that presentation. You know, when people hear about nuclear science, they're always scared of these bombs and all that. And I'm really glad you have brought 2 or 3 things that those who are not in nuclear science, but who are in attendance here actually will appreciate. I think one thing you mentioned about the use of nanotechnology in toothpaste. You know, these people always use toothpaste. When you go to the shelves, you just buy that, but actually there's a lot that goes on before you have that toothpaste working for you. Also the beauty, the body beauty products. Again, a lot of science that goes into that, and I think many people who are scared of nuclear now will also appreciate in that context. And I think also another thing that you mentioned was on the issues of climate change. You see, people talk politically about climate change, but science and nuclear science is actually one of the tools used to monitor and try to mitigate these issues of climate change. So thank you, Dr. Mwaniki. And I think you also saw something here that because our topic is today is multidiscipline, a foundation for multidiscipline research capacity. All right, we have seen Dr. Mwaniki from being a teacher now is doing research. And actually nuclear science in a way provided a get from teaching in a classroom into this kind of high level research. So if you have continue having questions, just send them there. We'll go to our next presenter now, and then we'll be able to respond to all the questions later on. So our next is engineer Anseli Mwaura, all the way from China. And Mwaura is actually at the Department of Industrial and Engineering. He is a lecturer at Egerton University at the Department of Industrial and Energy Engineering. He holds a BSc in Mechatronics Engineering from JKUAT. He's done his MSc in Nuclear Science from the University of Nairobi. That's the Institute of Nuclear Science. And he's currently doing his PhD in Nuclear Science at the Harbin Engineering University, China. So, Anselim, welcome.
Thank you so much, Biril, for the introduction. So for me now, I'll use slides to show to basically tackle this presentation. So yes, my name is Anthony Mwaura, and that is my email for those who need to contact me. Basically, now the outlook of my presentation will be some brief introduction about my education background. From there, now I'll be able to at least show the benefits of studying nuclear science at the institute. The next thing is how that studying of nuclear science is helping me in research. Currently, a trainee's experience and also some conclusions. Basically, now I did my undergraduate at JKUAT, and the undergraduate was in mechatronics engineering. For those who do not know, mechatronics is basically the automation of mechanical systems. When I was privileged to get the NUPEA scholarship in 2012 to study nuclear science. So, and currently, now I am doing my PhD in nuclear science. So now how are these three connected? The automation processes and principles that I learned in mechatronics, I use them in nuclear science at the master's level because now I was able to do prototyping. We did a research with the help of Professor Yan, Dr. Luton, and Professor Gatari at the Institute of coming up with a desalination of coming up with a desalination prototype which currently is still an ongoing process with the contact that I am having with Fred. Fred is the one that is continuing with it. So the principles that I learned at my master's now coupled with the principles that I learned at my undergraduate of now being able to automate processes is what I'm currently using in my PhD work, because now I am doing the automation of nuclear processes. Basically, now I'm using AI systems to the nuclear processes and coming up with a user interface. So the benefits that I saw from my experience at the Institute's work, the intellectual stimulation, how can I put it?
You can also put it in Chinese.
Nice one. The arguments and the points that we were able to now come up in class through the various discussions that we had were really mind-boggling because of the fact that people were drawn throughout the country and they were very intelligent people. So that is one thing that I saw was very good at the Institute. The other thing that I took home that was really good is the holistic learning. Here, apart from just the academic angle, we were now shown of the soft skills were cultured at the Institute. We were shown how to present and that kind of thing, which is something that I learned is not done in so many places. Also, the exposure that we got at the Institute, the research part of my master's program, now I was able to, through the networks at the Institute, now I was able to at least go abroad to do that research. That exposure I got, you cannot amount it to anything. So that is a very good point that I got at the Institute. The other thing is the mind shift, the mindset shift that you are able to be drilled at the Institute. From now that most of the education institution insist on passing of exams. But here we are able to be shown how applicable those theories you learn in class are used. For example, at the NDT lab, which Cairo and also and also Biril are using, you guys are now showing people how practical these theories that we learned in class are used. Now another point is we are usually, the study at the institute taught me to dream big, and you also encouraged to dream big, because the people who come, the seminars that are brought at the institute, the people across the globe, and you're able now to be shown how people on that other side of the world are doing their stuff. That is a very commendable thing which should continue being practiced at the institute. Also, the universality of your syllabus is something that is really commendable. From learning of atoms in the class of Mr. Mangala of atomic physics to the workings of the CT scan in medical physics. Those are things that you are able to appreciate when you now come outside to the world and see how practical these things are. Also, for the meaningful network that I made at the institute, this now I'm really grateful for, because of the very many people now across the globe and across the different divides in Kenya. That is something that I'm really grateful about the institute. The other thing that is, how are these benefits helping me in my research currently? I was able to hone my research skills because of the different tasks and assignments we were given in class. Also, for the simulation competencies that I was able to be taught in my master's program through the various activities and also the research work that I did. That is something that I am currently using, because now I am doing, now basically now I'm working on the fault diagnosis of new, and to get data you need to work on software. So that simulation background that I got at the institute is what is helping me right now. Also for the conference presentation skills that we were taught at the institute, that is something that is really good and I am continuing using up to now. Also, over and above that, now I was able to get a career, to make a career out of now the insights that I got at the institute and people pushing you to go forward and this job. The other thing is now I like to share the Chinese experience of what I'm seeing. Currently, this first picture is because this program is IAS sponsored. The Professor Shaukat came to visit us, and you can see that is the delegation of the African people. Simon is somewhere here, and there I am. Also, we were able to be taken to an actual nuclear power plant, and those theories that we were learning in school and in class at the institute, right now were put into effect and while knowing those things. The other thing is that now this is the operator. We were also taken to the regulator, and here is a couple of other Kenyans that I found at HU who are also doing it. This photo is now from the operator, the regulator. Now this is the nuclear owner. The Chinese CNNC is the nuclear owner, and we were given a good tour of the place. Now, for the research part, have the nuclear research company, and now we were able to be taken through what is being done and what they plan to do in the near future. So now I'd like to give my acknowledgement to the Institute because of that great opportunity and the exposure that they gave me. Over and above that, new pair, because of giving me that master scholarship, for the exposure that I went to and the fellowship that I attended, as well as the conference. Now I'm really grateful to ISP and Center of Expertise Water Technology at the Netherlands, where I did my fellowship. Also, the International Atomic Energy Agency for now linking me to this scholarship position. Also, the China Scholarship Council, because they are now funding this PhD program, and my host, which is the Harbin Engineering University. And over and above that, my employer, who is Egerton University. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Anselim, for that presentation. Usually when we are communicating with people from China, sometimes we get interferences in networks and all that, but we are really grateful that that has not happened and we have been able to hear you through and through. I think you have done a lot of praise for the Institute, and thank you for those kind words. I think a few things you have highlighted, at least some of the applications you talked about desalination. Again, just to demystify all these issues about nuclear science, one of the projects that Anselim and his team were working on is actually being able to separate salt from water, basically removing salt from salty water. I know that's a problem for if you come from some areas or from even in Mombasa now, the ocean water. We have a lot of water, but people don't have drinking water. And this group is actually making use of some to do identify with. So thank you for all the members. Keep sending your comments, questions, and all that, and then we'll deal with it at the end of this. So next, I would like to invite Rafael. Our next presenter is Rafael Chesori. Rafael holds a BSc in Industrial Chemistry. He's done a Master's in Nuclear Science. He'll be making his presentation all the way from Poland. So Rafael, welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Beril. Thank you, everyone who is here to listen to us share our experiences. I must thank my fellow panelists, Dr. Maniki and Anselim, for the inspiring presentation about what they are doing in Sweden and China, respectively. Well, maybe Biril, I will request you at some point you give me authority to share my slides on the. I have logged in 2 accounts. I have the Rafael PC. You can see that account.
I believe you will be able to share with any of the with any of the accounts.
Problem. Yeah. So maybe I'll do a bit of the introduction about myself a little bit. Yes, we share one common thing as panelists here, and maybe majority of the audience. We are Nuclear Institute family. We are alumni. Myself was at the Institute the year 08, and quite a lot I learned. Maybe before I say about the Institute, I can give a brief background about my education before the Institute. I actually studied at Cheptais High School in Mount Elgon. After, of course, my primary in a place called Chepkurkur. For those who have maybe heard about Chepkurkur in news, Mount Zero and Mount Elgon issues, I studied in Chepkurkur, and I joined Cheptais High School, where I was privileged to be a chairman of a science club. And I think through my interaction with my fellow students and science teachers, I developed a very concrete interest in science. Of course, I must also appreciate that in primary school, my science teacher really inspired me to do much about science. I loved science as a subject. So in my school, I developed a lot of interest in chemistry. Let me basically say all the sciences. And being a science club chair, my mandate was to mobilize the science students to participate in Congress. They call it Science Congress, yeah. And I think we did our best during that time. We were able to represent our school at national competition, provincial national competition somewhere. And after high school, I joined the University of Nairobi, and it was when I was at high school that I joined University of Nairobi. And initially, I had a very high ambition of maybe becoming a doctor, but you know that is common with everybody in the village. But maybe doctor only dream that any bright student could have while at high school. Okay, so I was admitted to University of Nairobi, but I was not lucky to join a medical school. And I was admitted to industrial chemistry at the School of Biological and Physical Sciences in Chiromo. And I think there was a lot that we interacted through that program, industrial chemistry. And one thing that came out very interesting on my part was issues with preparation of fine chemicals for pharmaceuticals, especially for specialty pharmaceuticals. And I think I liked this topic simply because I had harbored the idea of being in a medical discipline. And of course, chemistry is broad, but what captured my interest much was the applications of these chemicals in radiopharmaceutical industry and what have you. I was also privileged to be the founding chairman for Industrial Chemistry Student Association, University of Nairobi, of course. And after my undergraduate, I joined the Institute of Nuclear Science on scholarship. We were two of us. I and my colleague was Dr. Ian Kenyo, who is now lecturer at Chiromo. And at the Institute of Nuclear Science, that is when my world on peaceful uses of nuclear science and technology opened up, because I was able to interact with much information about the invisible world of the atom. I remember in high school, we were talking of atom as the smallest indivisible part of an element, but I realized that this atom can still be split. So it was fascinating to learn more about the atom. And at the Institute of Nuclear Science, with the support of the staff, the director, Dr. Katari, and Mangala, they did a lot to really induct us into this wonderful and exciting field of nuclear science. And I also participated in a number of IEA-sponsored programs while at the Institute. I was privileged to travel outside the country for the first time. I visited Trieste in Italy to attend a School of Nuclear Knowledge Management. And I learned a lot of things there, and of course opened my international networking platform. And I think that also became a springboard on my pursuit for nuclear knowledge, and more so realizing that this is a field that needs a lot of commitment, and I mean that the calling that you need, because you are talking about many aspects and also radiation in application. And majority of the people fear radiation. It's even in professionals, they fear radiation. Radiation is a common phenomenon in our environment, but we lack knowledge. People lack knowledge that we are generally exposed to radiation. So they think maybe when you are doing nuclear science, you are more exposed to radiation than them. I think that's not true. That is a myth. I institute with Masters of Nuclear Science, and I appreciate the support, the strong support of the institute for inducting us into this. And after some time, I remember I was waiting to make my defense. I digressed a little bit and went to work with the NGO world, and I was a program manager, program officer for not actually a science field, but this was more of community development programs. And I learned also a number of things on social aspects. And it was an opportunity for me to hone more skills on projects management and more so designs and what have you. And also social mobilization and networking. I have really appreciated that opportunity working with communities around issues to do with peace building and reconstruction. And that was no chemistry, nothing. It was basically knowledge, common knowledge in application, and I appreciated it. It's really part of it that I'm utilizing in my endeavors in the young generation networks, which I believe that's creating more space and opportunity for young professionals to interact and build their careers in various fields. Well, maybe, Biril, let me now share about my work at the Polish Institute of Nuclear Chemistry and Technology, and where I am now going deeper into the issues of radiopharmaceuticals. As I mentioned that I have had interest in working with medical area. Currently, I'm a tutorial fellow at the Jomo Kenyatta University of Agriculture and Technology. We have a program in Jomo Kenyatta, which is radiography, and here we are training young professionals to be experts in radio. I mean, we have diagnostic pathway, diagnostic radiography, and we have also therapeutic pathway for those who specialize in to be therapeutic specialists. And we have direct entries, and we have also what we call upgrading class. And currently, we have also a program that is sponsored by the IEA. We have fellows who are just upgrading, and more so on radio, they call it radionuclide therapy technologies. So radiation therapy technologies, RTTs. So we have a number of fellows from around East Africa region, Ethiopia, Rwanda, Tanzania, Uganda, and what have you. And this is an ongoing program. Jomo Kenyatta has been identified as Center for RTTs, Radiation Therapy Technologies, and it's a regional designation center for RTTs. So let me share about what is happening here at the Institute of Nuclear Chemistry and Technology. You said I can share my screen?
Yeah. Try. If there's any issue, we'll know. But I believe you should be able to do that.
I don't see the option of share.
There are those buttons.
So you can
the microphone.
Okay, share.
So did you see the share
I have
content
clicked
button?
the share.
Yeah.
Share my.
So alternatively you can use the shortcut Control Shift and E. Control Shift E.
Control Shift E. A little. Yes, I think it has come. You can see something.
No.
Okay. A little. There. You can see that?
Yeah, that's coming now. Yeah, now you can see it.
Okay, thank you. I'll take very short periods. Sorry for eating into the time, but I'll take the possible shortest period of time. Basically, I'll say something about statistics for cancer, the national commitment and treatment options in Kenya, radiopharmacy and nuclear medicine, and then what we do here at the Institute. Yeah.
Perhaps you can have it in presentation mode so that.
Okay. Sorry. All right. You can see now?
Yeah, that's better.
Okay, thank you. So the Radiochemistry and Nuclear Chemistry Center is part of the Institute of Nuclear Chemistry and Technology Center, which is a Polish advanced institute on matters radiochemistry, radiation chemistry, and application of nuclear techniques in engineering, also the chemical engineering and nanotechnology. So we have quite a team of researchers here from various fields. What studies here includes the radionuclides and radiopharmaceuticals, where these are the radionuclides that are being exploited here for the benefits in nuclear medicine. Yeah, we have the scandium 43, scandium 44, and then we have also here the radiopharmaceuticals labeled with beta, alpha, and other electron emitters. We have scandium 47, lithium, astatine, radium, actinium, lead 212, and platinum. And we are using biomolecules. Basically, as you understand, a radiopharmaceutical comprises of the radionuclide part and the non-radionuclide part, which is a pharmaceutical, or it can be another substance. So we incorporate these new biomolecules, and I'll maybe later talk about basically what I'm doing. My work is on lead, and will be focused on attaching trastuzumab as a biomolecule for targeted therapy. So a pharmaceutical is this kind of molecule where it has the radionuclide part, it has the ligand, it has the linker for basically attaching the biomolecule. So you can see that the kind of knowledge base that is incorporated here, we have the nuclear physics or radiochemistry. If you want to say nuclear physics, nuclear chemistry, radiochemistry, we have coordination chemistry, we have organic chemistry in play, and we have also molecular biology as kind of concerted knowledge to in the preparation of radiopharmaceuticals. And some of the therapeutic radionuclides that the Institute of Nuclear Chemistry here endeavors on is the use of yttrium, the lutetium, astatine, and platinum. And these are which have been proved already and they are in use. So some of them are still on advanced studies and others have already been proven, of course, approved for use in the nuclear medicine applications. In the so advantages of the internal alpha therapy is that we talk about, these are particles which cannot even penetrate your skin. Yeah, so the therapeutic aspects of alpha particles is more preferred because it deposits a lot of energy. I mean, a lot of energy to the tumor, and the idea is to kill all the tumor cells or the cancerous cells, and that's why this idea of use of alpha is really an in-thing because most of the interventions of managing and treatment of cancer has been on more on radiation applications. So like in Kenya, we use chemotherapy basically, and also radiotherapy, which is not a radionuclide approach. A radionuclide therapy is we can have these alpha emitting particles deep inside the tumor, and it can kill the cells from within, and also maybe through a targeted approach. These are the alpha emitters for internal radiotherapy. I mentioned actinium, bismuth, 2013, bismuth 2112, lead 2112, astatine 211, and way to radium. And you can see that we have the half-lives, the production pathways. Like, for example, if we can talk of the lead, we are producing it from thorium 228, and we get two products here, lead lead 212 and also bismuth 212, but we separate it through a column, a Dowitz column, by eluting different concentration of the acid. And as I listed here, some of these alpha emitters, they have undergone clinical trials. Some are ongoing, some are in preclinical stages, and this is a serious component of the research here at the institute, as it is supported heavily by the national government to produce these essential guns for cancer. Yeah, so basically I take you through what is happening in our country in terms of cancer cases. As you can see that globally, cancer causes more deaths than even HIV, TB, and malaria combined. And 10% of the global cancer burden is in low and middle income countries, which means that as a country, Kenya, we are more affected than other parts of the world. 30% of these cancers are curable if detected early.
Rafael, you need to wind up.
Yeah, I'm winding up.
Yeah.
And basically, most of the cases go to the last stages because they are not early detected. And as you can see that women are most affected by breast cancer and cervical cancer, and men are by prostate. So my research here is basically to focus on development of level 3 radiopharmaceuticals, where we are preparing radiopharmaceutical for radioimmunotherapy and targeted internal radiotherapy. And so level 3 is not actually commonplace practice, and that's why I came to Poland for this study. And I will not take you much over this because it's basically about cancer staging and treatment. And now the main focus here is targeted therapy drugs, and I'll be doing for the positive HER2 positive cancer for the breast and ovarian, and I will be using chelators called DOTA or TCMC, attaching radionuclide and nanoparticles, which is gold nanoparticles, and also trastuzumab as a bioconjugate. And basically, I do the synthesis of these nanoparticles, then characterize, label, and do what we call labeling, radio labeling, and I attach the trastuzumab for targeted therapy. So we use this as maybe the energy spectrum, where we understand how the decay happens and the energies that are emitted. And our generator here is that. And basically, the final product will be having trastuzumab for the targeted breast and ovarian cancer. So it's a lot to discuss about this, maybe in another forum. But I thank you, and thank you very much.
Thank you, Raphael. I know Raphael can speak for a whole day, given the chance. So thank you, really. You have at least highlighted one area that people are not aware of. Now, from your background in chemistry and all that, now you're busy making medicines. Actually, when we talk about pharmacy, it's basically all about medicine. So one area in medicine is known as radiopharmacy. And that's one of the areas that Raphael is working on. So again, as we continue seeing, nuclear is not about bombs and all that. Like there's a whole spectrum. It's what is being used to treat people, to diagnose people. So when people go to hospitals, you have certain complications that actually can only be resolved through some nuclear intervention. So thank you a lot, Raphael. I know we'll continue talking. So next, I'm going to invite our last speaker today. So keep those questions coming. I have seen comments are coming. I've seen Claire. I've seen Mangala. So keep them coming in that area. So our final presenter today is Leonard Grego. Leonard, all the way from Sweden, Stockholm University. So he's doing his research work in Sweden, Stockholm University. Leonard holds a BSc in chemistry, MSc in nuclear science. And now he's doing his PhD, and he'll tell us more about himself and his work. So, Leonard, welcome.
Thank you, John. Yes, I also thank the other panelists. I think they have said quite a lot and useful information. So as John has said, I have a bachelor's in chemistry, and I also did my master's in nuclear science here at the Institute, and I was sponsored by KNEP, Kenya Nuclear Electricity Board. That's what it was called then, but now I think it has changed the name to something else. So, and yeah, it was a full scholarship, tuition, research money. And as most of the speakers have said, there are broad application of this knowledge in nuclear science and technology, whether you think of power generation or in the medical field, like the panelists have said, in agriculture, climate change, like what I'm focusing, my current research is on climate change mitigation, and I'm applying some of this knowledge as I am going to highlight within this presentation. So yeah, so for my master's project, I looked at heavy metal pollution along Nairobi River, and I used like TXRF technology, which is also a nuclear technique. And the reason why I was looking at this project is because along Nairobi River we see cultivation of vegetable, arrowroot, sugarcane, and these are for consumption. So the question is, how safe are these products? So you can see how we can apply this knowledge in nuclear science and nuclear techniques into analyzing food safety and quality monitoring. So after I graduated, I hung on in the institute I volunteered as a research assistant, and I realized like there are diverse research areas in the institute. For example, in my project, it was on elemental analysis, where I was using XRF technology, but I also happened to work on environmental radioactivity, where you can assess radiological hazards. I also had some training on radio tracers and gamma scanning. I worked on air pollution measurements. All these research areas applying our knowledge and skills in nuclear science and technology. And what this period for during the course period and research and as research assistant, I was able to gain research skills. I was able to gain skills on data analysis, critical thinking, which have proved very important for my PhD program. Also, I would like to appreciate like the level of exposure students at the institute have. There are a lot of international network, whether you talk about IEA, ISP, we see students being sent out for conferences, for seminars, for trainings. Actually, I was a beneficiary of 2 training programs when I was at the institute as a research assistant. So this kind of exposure is also very important for building your skills and also for your CV. And as you can see, I don't know if what numbers, Biril may have the numbers, but if you look at the transition rate from MSc to PhD at the institute, it's very high. So that means we are doing something great here at the institute. So I will share a slide just to highlight how research is structured in my department. As you heard from Sam, we are in the same department and we are working in a close research, in similar research area. I don't know if you can see my slide. Have I shared?
Yes, you can see.
Okay, yeah. So I'm in the Department of Environmental Science, Stockholm University, and so there are like five units, and my unit is called biogeochemistry, and here is where we look at emissions and the impact of those emissions on climate, what we call like climate feedbacks, and also we look at in terms of health. So under that unit, we have like 2 research tracks. One focuses on Arctic, where we see like the Arctic is warming and a lot of carbon dioxide is being emitted from what they call permafrost. But my research unit is on aerosol research. We are working on aerosol research, and I'm focusing on sub-Saharan African region. So what we are doing is we are using isotopes to try to determine the sources of different combustion products, whether we talk about fossil emissions or biomass emissions. What are the sources of these emissions and how much is contributed from each? And that we can link to climate effects and all, as well as health effects. So like there are different techniques in which we can try to analyze the sources of different pollutants. But one of the most precise technique, which is related to nuclear, our knowledge in nuclear science and technology, is what we call radiocarbon, the carbon-14. And that is what we are using in our research group to try to determine sources of different, whether we talk about black carbon, like I'm focusing more on black carbon. This is like the soot that is emitted from vehicles. So So if we look at the radiocarbon signatures, we can be able to quantify. Yeah.
Is it possible to increase, to zoom that that we can't see very well?
Is it okay now?
Thank you. Yeah.
Good. Yeah. So the technique is radiocarbon, the carbon 14, and we can. It's a more precise technique in which we can be able to determine sources, and we can categorize our sources into two main groups. Also, although we have like subcategories also. One is fossil emissions, like like what comes out of vehicles or what comes out of industries that we can categorize as fossil emissions. And the other one is biomass, like when you use firewood in your kitchen, there's that smoke that comes out, there's black carbon there, among other ion species and gases. So for my research, I'm looking at black carbon and I'm using this technique. So how this technique works is, if you look at fossil fuel, we say they are radiocarbon dead. And we give them a signature of -1000. But for biomass, like a tree or grass, they are alive. They are still accumulating the carbon 14. So you will have a positive signature, and it ranges from 50 for young plants and grass up to around 220 for very old trees. So, and if we use that knowledge and those signatures of radiocarbon, then we can be able to determine how much comes from fossil fuel and how much comes from biomass. And this figure here is part of our research that we have carried out here in Nairobi. And so it was some filter samples conducted between 2014 to 2015, and it's within the Nairobi city. And what we found out is that over 80% of black carbon, which has major health effects, comes from vehicles. So what can that mean? That means if we want to check on black carbon in terms of regulation, then we need to focus on vehicles and emissions from industries. So that's technically how we can apply radiocarbon. I'm applying this knowledge into my research. That is to add to other skills that I gained from the institute. So yeah, and I think that's what I had prepared for you guys. Thank you.
Thank you for that presentation. I think a few things that you have highlighted about, again, the things, this is also demystifying nuclear science. We have talked about the issues of food safety and quality monitoring as one of the application areas. And now your main area of application is in basically pollution monitoring.
Yes.
Where you are looking at these pollutions and the kind of impact they're having on our climate. So at least for our audience who are not mainly experts in nuclear science, at least now they have an idea that even for us, you realize that based on the talks that we have, they are really diverse applications. So perhaps, so I'm looking at questions. So if you have any questions, you can raise your hand. There's
hello, John.
There's a button there for yes, Mike.
Yeah, I had the director in the background. Perhaps we should welcome him before we go to the Q&A. Hey, director.
So while we will welcome our director to make his remarks, I think you can all turn your mic, what is it called now? Videos on, so that we take another group photo while you formulate your questions and while our director, Professor Gatari, make a remark. Thank you. Wilson, you can go on and take the photo.
Thank you, but I'm still sick. I'm just coming from the doctor. So I'm very happy for the retro I've had, and I'm impressed that everybody we invited is around, and many more people who are not part of this. I can see some who I have not seen for many, I don't know, donkey years. Neither Chesori, who I have not seen. At least I saw you during the other webinar. Well, I'm impressed that you are all there, and even I can see answering Maura and so forth. But I have a small sickness, but it will be okay soon because I'm told my nerve was attacked by a virus, so it's being treated. But that should not stop me from working. Other than that, yeah, I've been encouraged to start to continue pushing the mouth to talk. So it's part of the exercise. But I'm not very bad, as some people think. So, yeah, let's continue on this. Maybe it would be good for you people to attend many of these webinars if we had the opportunity, because you are running from each other. You are also being encouraged to, especially the ones who are on, still in Kenya, who are finished and who are going on. They have an opportunity to apply for opportunities out there. It's not specifically the few who are out who can, but you keep on applying. You don't necessarily. It's not that you get everything, but as you continue applying, the chances of you getting something are very high. But don't apply and expect to get yes, because you can apply even 10 times before you get an opportunity to go anywhere. Let me not talk too much because I'm sure I'm boring you with my bad mouth. And yeah, and we continue meeting in this virtual space. Thank you.
Okay, Asante. I'll be out of the meeting at 3:30 with the Senate. So perhaps you might see me off after 3:30. Thank you.
Thank you.
I saw there's a Senate, but you have a strong team there, Mike. So I don't think you have to worry. Just leave for the meeting. But you had questions. I can see you are telling them something here of the handheld. But don't oversell the handheld so much. You have also, when you are selling it, you have also to give the science behind it, that what it is a good tool for, what do we call it? When is a good tool for screening, it cannot be compared with what you have in a lab for quantification. Because the impression is from ICRAF is that as if you can use it for quantification. It is not. Its uncertainty is too high, but it can at least give you an insight into what type of elements you expect in a certain environment. And I hope Carol was here. I haven't been seeing her attending the meetings. I hope she understands that. And there are very many papers on handheld XRF. And also they also discuss the weaknesses and the positiveness of the handheld XRF. Because even in the usual normal conventional XRF, there is still a high level of uncertainty, because unless, and that's why you are advised to make a sample which is nearly the same as the standard, which you know is impossible. So Mike, you are an expert in that. You should be at least also be pushing that idea. But it is a very good instrument which we have and should be utilized for screening in areas, in remote areas and so forth. Thank you.
Yeah, I think the comment was posted by Tilol, and that was in reaction to the presentation from Samuel Gaita. So yeah, it's good also you have re-emphasized on the screening part, on the use of for screening part for the portables. Yes, thank you. All right.
All right, so we continue with our questions. Let me see what we have on the chats here. There's a long chat from Claire, and she is asking now that it appears that most of the children, they only know that careers are for doctors, lawyers, and teachers, whereas now nuclear science, as we have seen today, is actually a multidisciplinary subject. How do we demystify the perceived or genuine ambiguity of this field and make it a career of choice to our youth, especially at primary and secondary level? Sorry, I don't know if you can take that.
Yeah, sure. Thank you. I was trying just to write my way of message, but I can speak a little on that.
Yeah, just a minute,
Yeah.
in a minute, yeah.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Claire. What I would say is that it's actually a common phenomenon that not many people understand nuclear. But I think some of us who have been, maybe we have had this advantage of being informed about nuclear. Let us be the ambassadors and also work with the existing institutions or even create more platforms where we can continue the talk of this demystifying nuclear. What we are doing at the Young Generation Network platforms, we are working very closely with all other stakeholders, including Institute of Nuclear Science, NUPEA, and all other players in nuclear, to ensure that we reach to the masses, we reach even to the students in primary, high school, and in the colleges, universities, and sell the good credentials of nuclear science and technology. So I think that is what we can all do, and ensure also or inspire our young siblings and everyone who is seeing any benefit from this. Thank you.
John, if you can let me, I can chip into what Lafare said. There is an AFRA project, but it is not implementable now. And then Nakosti has already chosen 2 secondary schools and is actually beamed for Bayai for secondary and primary schools. So when the COVID thing gets away from us, maybe it will start off. And sometimes back they requested me to use our facilities for that project when they start, and I told them yes, because I think it's an important project. And of course, like Lafara said, there are those other activities going on. The only thing probably, Raphael, you could have also talked about, now there is this youth, and now there is also another one, women in nuclear science. How are you going to drive these 2 organizations? Well,
thank you, Prof. Actually, the creation of women platform is to incorporate all professional women who are in nuclear, regardless of the age. So it's not limiting to the age. But for the young generation, membership beyond 40.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's just synergistic approach. Thank you.
Thank you. I didn't understand, and I didn't want to ask because I know I can't join any, so I kept quiet.
Thank you for that. The next question is from Mangala. I'll rephrase that. I'm directing this to Dr. Gaita. We know that higher education is actually expensive. As you indicated in your talk, you initially had challenges, financial challenges in pursuing your higher education. And after that, we have seen that you have really taken off. Now you have 2 masters, you have a PhD, and all this. So how are you able to mobilize for resources? What avenues did you? We know they are different, but at least you can guide the young ones on the ways in which you are able to identify these opportunities for funding and how you ended up there. And just in addition to that, the different opportunities for career available now that you're also working in a very big university there.
Thank you for that. First and foremost, I would like to really appreciate Professor and the at the Institute of Nuclear Science, because that gave me what we call the launching pad. The network he has is a very strong network. Let's start with that, the international network. So it has provided a launching pad, as you said, for so many of us who are pursuing our careers in fields related to nuclear science. That's one of them. And other than the financial support from the Institute of Nuclear Science and the agencies that support nuclear science through the professor, I think there's one thing that we should have also be pushing for us who are doing our PhD in Europe. We should be, I always remember, if I see an opportunity, I should be posting it to the group. Why? Because in Europe, you don't pay for the PhD. That's one thing that when you're doing your master's, you put more focus on your work, you get good grades, and you look for opportunities, because PhD in Europe, you don't have to pay. If you get admitted by the university, it's classified as a job. That's one thing. So then it provides that opportunity for you to actually do your PhD comfortably, same case as the postdoc. So I think it's more of one, information. We need to pass information to our students at the nuclear science that do a good job, do a good work. Then the network that is there, use it. And if you can get an opportunity, you get a recommendation, you get a network that is already established there, or you create a new network, and you get an opportunity to apply for a PhD position in Europe, please do so. Because it's not that you're going to pay anything. It's that you're going to be considered as an employee of the university. So that's how I've been able to do that. One, it's sacrifice. As Kirago said, he did work as a research assistant. I did the same at the Institute of Nuclear Science. And through the CEDA and IEA, I was able to get an opportunity to do a master's in University of Gothenburg. And then when I went there, I did a good job, so that when they got a PhD position, they told me to apply. And that's how I ended up getting that position at Gothenburg University. And then when the Stockholm group actually was doing their research in Mount Kenya, I was helping them to collect the samples. So when they had a position of postdoc and I applied, they said, oh, thank you, you did help us with this work. So it's a matter of, like, one, getting the opportunity, and two, working hard and doing good what you're doing, and then using the opportunity and the network that is available to nuclear science to launch your studies and your career. That's what I can say.
John?
Yes, Prof.
Let me also demystify something. Okay, I would expect Samuel to be shy about. One, I was behind disconnecting Samuel from his career of teaching. He was employed in TSC. The background reason was he was the best student, primary school student in Laikipia.
Oh, okay.
And I thought, and by his background, you know the status of Kenya and where you come from. He doesn't come from a well-endowed background. He's not my brother, like, and that's why I'm demystifying this, because there was a lot of talk within the institute. Someone comes from a poor background, and you can even quantify it as a ghetto. Now he's living above even all of us. But with that, and being a best student from such an, imagine a student from Mathare, teachers in Nairobi raising money to bring him to the upper Sako primary school. That's what happened to him. And then who was a teacher knew them. And so when he became a teacher, and I had the opportunity, I told him, Samuel, come and continue with education. I know you have the capacity. But he agreed and he disconnected. Unfortunately, we did not know. For him now, he's fortunate, but at that time it was a shock. I did not know he could not be allowed to pay in small amount in our program. He had only 80,000. They needed over 120 or something like that. I tried even to talk to the Vice Chancellor, they refused. I even offered my salary to be chopped if he doesn't pay the balance. He refused. And there was now Samuel no job because of Professor Gatare, and someone who could only now teach packages in the institute. You can imagine how I was feeling, and I'm not like that. So when the opportunity came, I talked to my network and persuaded them, literally persuaded them to give him MSc, which International Science Program does not fund. And that's how they saw my point, and I was very strong on it and very candid. And we were in a conference in Stockholm. I took the director of YSP, I took the head of the Gothenburg group, and some other senior professors. I told them the truth. And that's how he got a master's in Gothenburg. But he has not went there and made his name. He came back to Kenya. I told him, people refused you to do our master's, pay yourself and do it. He did it. And by the time he was doing it, the opportunity for PhD, he was offered by his friends in Gothenburg. So at least now everybody understands the position. Thank you.
Thank you, Prof. Dr. Monique, now at least your secret is out now. But at least thank you for that. And I think one thing we can take from that is that it is not easy to study, but whether it's because of financial or whether it's because of the technical aspects involved, but we can agree that at the end of the day, it is really rewarding. After all the suffering, the reward, now you forget all the suffering that may have happened. Another question. Okay, Irene has posted a comment here that she's one of the new converts today. For somebody who I don't have a background in nuclear science, but at least now I know it's not all about nuclear bombs. Yes, thank you, Irene. My next question is so keep those questions coming there, and if you need to verbalize your question, you can raise your hand. My next question is for Maina. You did mention that the transition rates from MSc to PhD at the university is not at the university, at the Institute of Nuclear Science is actually high, of which it is true. Now, every time I meet new students on the corridors here, most of the students, they tell me that they just want to do their masters and go back to business as usual. Nobody wants to do PhD. But somehow, I don't know if you're one of those students, and in your case, why did you choose to pursue a PhD? And probably what message do you have for the students who are still scared of doing PhD?
Oh, okay, thanks, Biril. Yeah, yeah, I think sometimes so I remember there was this joke where some defined PhD as permanent head damage, and you know, when you hear such things, you can get scared, and also I was scared like just after graduating from my master's, but through the exposure in the institute, working as a research assistant, you know, you grow in confidence and you start actually liking research, and that was a key motivation to be able to move ahead and say, oh, I feel I'm ready to do a PhD. So I think it's a great challenge, and I would say don't just stop at MSc. If you have that opportunity, go for those opportunities and try to go as far as you can. So I think it's a good challenge, and no one should be scared. I think it's a journey, and at some point, I think it's a really good challenge, and we can all do it.
Thank you, Maina. So I think one thing we pride ourselves at the Institute is that fact that we really transition, we convert souls. Those people who wanted to come and just do masters, they realize they can actually do more, and that's really good. We are hoping that we'll continue transitioning to even higher percentages. Next question I'll direct this to Anselm. You did give a lot of praise to the Institute about so many things, but maybe out of all those ones, what would you consider to be your most memorable takeaway, which you gained from studying at the Institute?
Thank you for the question, Buanabiri. The most memorable of the benefits is that INST has a good name out. I can take one particular example. Well, I was interviewing at Egerton, when I said that I am from the University of Nairobi and I am working with Professor Gatari, everybody at the panel was so excited, and they even gave me a task to go and now greet everybody at the institute. That is one thing that I can tell the current student at institute. You are in very good hands, and as you transition to your next phase, maybe you might go to academia or you might go to the real world. Please note that you should continue keeping the good name of the institute high. Thank you.
Thank you. Maybe one last question to Raphael. I thought you were only in KYGN and AYGN. I also heard now that you are in women. Is it women in science? So my question is, you seem to spend a lot of free time on these groups, KYGN, AYGN, also women in science. Also, we had the young generation, the International Youth Nuclear Congress. I think you are part of it. You seem to be spending a lot of time in these things. Do you think there would be better things for you to do, or what do you have to say?
Thank you, Biril, for the question. It's not like I have a lot of free time to spend in these networks, and I think that is a myth that we should demystify. We are all busy, but taking the initiative to contribute positively towards our cause, this is more than a calling. And I encourage that most members to take their time and do something beyond themselves. You know, when you are in your study, maybe at the end of the day, we'll benefit from your study, but there is much that we can also benefit from your other contributions. So the network, I spend some little time in the network, and my aim is to see that there is information flow from the senior generation to the younger generation. Like Professor Katari is here, he is he has a wealth experience of knowledge, and through such platforms that we can share together, we are transferring this knowledge to the younger generations. And okay, I'm in the women, but I'm not a woman, but I'm a good ambassador for nuclear across board. So men, I encourage you to join men in nuclear platform. And more so, Claire asked about how can we really inculcate the good things about nuclear into our generations and more, the members of public, I think is through our presence in the social spheres. So let us also come out of the labs and be physically there. I like the panelists in our last webinar, where we were talking of socializing science or socializing nuclear science. So I believe that socializing nuclear science is more about reaching to the masses, not actually confined in the lab alone. So maybe I must mention before I forget that we are working on having an event in April next year, and we have privilege to host the International Youth Nuclear Congress, the MIT board meeting in Nairobi. So I'll be reaching to Professor Katari and other stakeholders to see that we can make this a successful event in Nairobi. And also in 2021, October, the African Young Generation in Nuclear will be having their third summit, nuclear summit in Ghana, Accra. So all the young professionals, if you have any work that you can present, you can prepare your abstracts. When we make the call, you respond. We'll be maybe making available some funds to facilitate your travel to these conferences. So be proactive and make good use of this opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you, Raphael. I think,
John.
Yeah, Prof.
Can I add to Raphael? And thank you, Raphael. I don't know whether it came out because I came in the middle of this, but Raphael's performance in Poland, we have to appreciate, has also now, they have admitted 3 more students into Poland. No, 4 from the institutes. I don't know how many of you are aware of that, but the image and the the front and the space, the environment Raphael has created in Poland is the one which has made that institution to admit those 4 students. Unfortunately, they were admitted during the COVID period, but one is already there as far as I know. And maybe also the other one, Nelson, might end up going there in January. I don't know about the other 2, whether Onani is there or he's still in China. But that is good. That is what Samuel was talking about. When you go out there and you see your opportunities, just throw it to your colleagues. Because the more diaspora we have from Kenya, the better. And as far as I'm concerned, when people talk of brain drain, I don't believe in it. Because every coin, every dollar earned by a Kenyan outside of this country, a small part of it comes into Kenya to help the families. And Kenya's economy cannot absorb all of you. So thank you, Raphael, for what you have done.
Thank you for that. I could not even think about it, but thank you for bringing it up.
It's also important, John, to know that the same institute has managed to help 4 students to study in a master's in Netherlands, not in the line of nuclear science, but in the line of water. We have another 3 students who have studied in Taiwan. We sent 2. Initially, they went through my colleague there who is retired now, professor who is retired, but then they managed to help another 3. And I hear one now, maybe someone knows, he's in Czechoslovakia, Czech Republic. He initially was from chemistry and etc. So these are opportunities. When we get them, we don't hide them from students. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Prof, for that. I think what we can see here is that opportunities are there. They may not be there every day, but when you prepare well, you are ready. When those opportunities present themselves, you're actually able to grab them. And one of the ways by preparing is making sure that you do well. For every assignment you are given, you do well. I think most of the students who have also had opportunities to travel abroad is because of these networks, and they're able to do research here remotely in collaboration with the people from abroad, and then they realize that these people can actually do a good job, and they end up creating opportunities for them to travel abroad and carry their studies. I think I remember when Raphael reported in Poland and he started doing his work there, they were actually shocked. They had to call him and ask, you mean there are people like this in Africa, like people who can do this? And actually, those are the products of our prof here. And I think the way Anselm said is that even though the suffering is there at some point, but really the rewards at the end of the day is you can't compare with the suffering that you have to go through. And you have to go through that suffering anyway for you to be made into something. Let me see any other questions. I don't think we have any other questions. So I'll, now that Mangala is not here, so probably I'll hand over back to Kairu. Will give a vote of thanks, and then Linda, if you're still here, we'll do a closing prayer. But if you feel there's something you need to say, you can say it. But since I've not seen any hand, maybe. So before Kairu, you give no, actually, Prof. Kairu, give a vote of thanks, and then Prof will have 1 or 2 words, and then Linda will pray, and then we call it a day.
Okay. Thank you very much, John. Yeah, I think it's almost 2 hours since we started this webinar, and I think we had up to 40 participants. I think, and they have been patient. Yeah, we've hung around until the end of this. So, on behalf of the Institute of Nuclear Science and the UON at 50 committee at the Institute, I'd like to first of all express our sincere gratitude to our God for keeping each and everyone safe. No, it's good to see every one of us, each one of us. And it's my prayer that all of us will sail through this storm and emerge even maybe victorious, maybe come up even with some breakthrough research that will help us even with bigger problems into the future. Having said that, I think special thanks to our 4 panelists, Dr. Mwaniki, Chisori, Anselim, and Kirago. We do appreciate your taking your time and sharing with our students and with the nuclear community about your journey as a researcher and how our program has enhanced you, to move out into multidisciplinary research in other areas. So, and I hope, wherever you are, you just like Director said, through Chesori, we've been able to have 4 more students admitted into Poland. So we hope that we should be able to build this strong network and maybe share information of these opportunities to our students. I'd also like to appreciate who have been able to join us today. If we only had the panelists without the listeners, actually it would not make any sense. So finally, I would like to appreciate the support from our director, Professor Gatari. I think last time we had a meeting, I don't know whether he has a word for our panelists as well as the participant. But I think so far, he's given us support, as a committee as we plan for these activities. And I hope before we pray, probably we'll have a word from him to hear whether there is, something good. So otherwise, with that, I think we've come to the end of our webinar today. So I just encourage each one of us to stay safe and take all the measures to contain the spread of coronavirus. So thank you. Director, maybe I can give a handover to you before we invite Miss Linda to lead us in a word of closing prayer. Thank you.
Okay, asante sana Wilson and John. Now, I know where you are coming from, but just make sure you set the list, and the list for the webinar, the high-level webinar, and The other thing I can say is that if there is space, we shall call another webinar next week. And this time it is you, John and Wilson, and another 2 PhD we shall select. Susan also, who will be the panelists, plus Mercy. And then we hear what you people have to say. Because I didn't hear John or you saying you are even funded through the same institute to go to USA, which is very expensive, which is important. But when opportunities come, we throw it around to those people who have something ready. And yeah, Raphael, welcome to let us know when you are having your organization. And then if you are able, we shall help. If not, we shall let you know. All I can tell you is that the best performance you do, for example, the performance in the first year of Tarus, is the one which made him popular in Korea, right? And many others. I'm sure you have many other people around here who I can mention. I think Magdalene is here. She has been into Finland. So it's through the same institute. We have Garogaro, Finland, ICRAF. Well, quite a number of people have benefited with the small money we get. Obviously, we can't benefit the 100%. And sometimes I've even persecuted that some are my girlfriends, but it's because women are supported more than men. I don't know what's going on in the world, because everywhere you go is women, but men are, I don't know. But anyway, opportunities for women are also very high. And I encourage women to lead it, the female students to lead it, try and exploit. Don't give up when you apply and you are said it's not possible. Apply even if 100 times. I met a young girl in International Atomic Energy in Vienna. Oh, was it 2 years ago when we met Lefort there? And she told me she's not an intern in International Atomic Energy, and she's in administration, human resource side, after applying nearly 50 times. She's a Kenyan. So when you don't have anything, don't just look for your father to go down Liverpool to look for a job for you, because those jobs are not really available. It is your performance. And Kirago there can tell you, for him to get a PhD, I think you had to go through about, even though I had a strong recommendation and they know me, he had to go through very high level interviews. I think twice, I can't remember how many times.
Yeah,
so
two times.
So it's not that they walked in because they of my network. The only time somebody walked in was Samuel, but the circumstances were very different for the first masters. It is homegrown. So you have to work hard. Invest in knowledge, even if it is not the ed career. And I'm telling you, knowledge at the young age is the best thing you can ever have. Even if you go kutengeneza shamba, utatengeneza better than a person who have never been to school. You even be able to exploit your cabbages better than that other person. And there is nothing worse than if an opportunity in your life which God has prepared for you comes out, but your papers are not there. You feel like crying, too late, because you cannot reverse time. Now, you just remember that. I'm very happy with the panelists. This kind of encouragement will continue even after the celebrations of the 50-year celebration of the University of Nairobi. We shall be calling these seminars because they also webinars, because they also help the younger generation to really not focus on education for purposes of employment. Focus on education for purposes of knowledge, and then employment becomes a side, what we call what? It's called something which comes by the way. But if you focus, oh, we have had questions, if I come and study nuclear science, where shall I be employed? Which discipline today, if I ask you, is getting employed 100% today? Irrespective, which discipline? Are you going to discourage all those students not to continue studying? So think first how you can invest in good grades, good performance, good research, and then you think of the job later. Don't forget that the agriculturist can employ you as a nuclear scientist, even if you came from engineering or from physics, because they are using isotopes in their work. So think wide. So investment in education is, believe me or not, you would fail. And immediately you reach the level of PhD, you become an international employable candidate. I don't know whether you knew that. Well, I heard it was, which is true, because internationally, PhD is known as permanent head damage, but that is an international license for employment. You can apply for a job anywhere where the language you know can be accepted. So, I don't know, I can talk and talk and talk, like John saying Raphael likes talking, but he is good in talking, of course. I'm also likes talking, so you are not alone, Raphael. But I wish you the best, feel great, and may God bless you all. Thank you.
Thank you, Prof.
Linda can lead us in closing prayer. Linda, if you are there.
Let us pray. I hope everyone can hear me. Lord, we thank you for the discussion we've had, my Father. We thank you for all the people that have been privileged to hear this, oh God. May they go encouraged, not discouraged, oh God. May opportunities open up for them, my Father. We thank you for all the people that have been blessed us with they shared their stories. May you increase them. May you open more opportunities for them. I thank you even for the Institute, for the leadership at the Institute, for every single member of staff and all the students at the Institute, oh God. Keep them, encourage them, open doors of opportunities for all of us. It is in Jesus' name we pray and believe. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. Thank you all for coming.
Thank you, John and Wilson, for making
Bye bye.
this successful. Bye.
Okay.
Bye.
Thank you.